Joining us from Washington, Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat from Oregon. Here at the table is Jonathan Alter, MSNBC political analyst, Bloomberg View columnist. Heather McGhee, Vice President of Policy and Outreach at Demos, and Maddie Duppler, Director of Americans for Tax Reform. Senator, I want to start with you. You have been one of the vocal critics of the president's chain CPI plan. If this is a relatively modest cut, and if it does the thing of doing more the further you get into the out years, why isn't the perfect thing to include in this budget?
Well, first, let me tell you what chain CPI stands for. It stands for cutting hard-acquired income for the elderly and disabled. That's exactly what it does. It's a cut in real benefits. As you just said, over 20 years, it's $1,000 a year. And here is the thing. There are ways to adjust Social Security that might resonate with fairness, but creating an accounting trick that creates a less accurate estimate of the real inflation costs that seniors face is absolutely wrong.
But people who argue for it say it is actually more accurate, and the reason it's more accurate is because the way it calculates is it takes into account the fact that consumers make substitutions as the price of certain relative goods goes up and down. So actually the real effect of it is that this is the more accurate measure.
Well, and they're wrong. I mean, the argument is that, look, if the price of apples go up, you buy more bananas, and we'll take that into account. And that sounds very good until you realize that the CPI we have right now is not based on what the elderly buy. It's not the basket of goods senior citizens face. It's a different basket, a basket that doesn't go up as fast.
Yep.
If you want a CPI index for the seniors, then CPIE for elderly much more accurately tracks it, and it's a higher CPI. So this goes in exactly the wrong direction.
Jonathan, I feel like you have been someone who's been vocal in calling for Democrats to compromise on entitlement reform or social insurance cuts. Right. I prefer the latter phrase. So what's your reaction to the senator and to this budget?
Well, if the senator can propose another reform of entitlements that can raise $230 billion and that doesn't hurt truly vulnerable people, and remember, the president said in his budget, this will not hit truly vulnerable people. That's who he's protecting in the rest of his budget. If the senator can come up with an alternative to that that has any kind of a chance of passage, I'm all ears. I'm not wedded to change CPI. What I am concerned about is that there's this sense on the left among those like me who are very strong supporters of the social contract that Franklin Roosevelt established. There's a sense on the left that we can protect it all in amber, preserve it in amber, we don't have to change anything. That is not possible. So when you say, what would you change? They say, well, raise the cap.
Right.
But raising the
cap means raising the cap on payroll taxes so that you can fund the Social
over
Security
$113,000. That is not gonna happen.
But it should happen. But it should happen.
In other words, so the question here goes to the president's basic question, which is the perfect the enemy of the good?
So you're saying it's not politically possible because Republicans would never accept it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that if you're going to get revenue increases, which the president wants and has in his budget,
right,
that there are more politically palatable places to get it.
So here's
than from
the problem.
People who are making, $115,000 and would be, paying more.
So here's the problem. The entire need for a deal, as you were talking about, Chris, earlier in the segment, has to do with this urgent priority that is a Washington obsession, which is to actually lower the deficit. When in fact, the most urgent need outside of Washington is to create more jobs, to raise take-home pay, and to deal with the fact that employers have walked away from pensions and 401ks are abysmal at actually protecting retirement. And so we're actually going to need a more generous Social Security package in the future. It's just not related to what's actually going on in the economy. And that's what's so difficult about this whole conversation.
I just very briefly, I agree with you in the short term. We're on completely the same page. But to say with the baby boomers retiring and these unbelievable, boulders coming down the road on the next generation, to say that the idea that nothing has to be done on Social Security is not
Let me say,
accurate.
let me just intervene and register. I'm not for preserving an amber. I am for pouring more amber in and basically expanding, right? So I think we should expand Social Security.
Well, then kids won't get anything in adult, and then seniors will get the whole pie.
Tax people a lot more.
Right,
we get to you to Maddie Duppler. Who you guys? The great thing about this, I learned this morning, you oppose chain CPI.
Right, and this is the thing about President Obama. He continues to bring the left and the right together. There's is something in this budget for everyone to hate. And it's not that this is a Republican problem with chain CPI. Progressives were out in front on Friday when this got leaked, that this was a huge problem for the left and their priorities. But the problem that we have with chain CPI is that it's not just on the benefits. That's not on
You're fine with the benefit cuts. We should be clear. No, I want you to say that.
Yeah, from the benefit side of things, if you're looking to reform entitlements, it's good that we're actually talking about the outlays that are coming out of these entitlement programs, because obviously that's the problem that no one's addressing. The other side of the coin, though, with chain CPI is that it hits the tax code. What it does is it slows the tax brackets, the way you measure where people are falling in their tax spreads. So as you said before, if that's growing more slowly, but income's still coming up, people are moving into higher tax brackets.
It's a tax hike, and that's actually part of the savings. And I want to and I want to talk about the politics of this, because one of the ways it gets reverse engineered, and Senator Merkley, I want you to weigh on this in a second, which is that this is a way to kind of come to the table more than halfway. So I want to play some of the conservative reaction to this and Republican reaction to chain CPI that was in the budget just from today. We're going to play that right after we take a quick break.
His budget really lays out kind of a shocking attack on seniors. When you're going after seniors the way he's already done on Obamacare, taking $700 billion out of Medicare to put into Obamacare, and now coming back at seniors again, I think you're crossing that line very quickly.
You know, I think senior citizens are squeezed. If the president's going to take Mrs. O'Reilly and everybody else, seniors who don't have any money, away, then those left-wing groups may have a point.
Those left-wing groups have a point. Those are conservatives and Republicans, including the head of the NRCC, Representative Walden, blasting the president from the left for cuts to Social Security. And Senator Merkley, what do you think when you see that?
Well, Greg Walden is from my home state of Oregon, and so here the president
What
put
does
in
Walden
the budget.
stand for?
Do you
have an acronym, WALDEN?
No, I don't have one quick for you. No, he's a good man, and I'm going to say this, on this issue, he's right. But here is the thing, it's very cynical, because the president put it in because the Republicans asked him to make it part of the deal and then immediately attack him for it. But I do think that if you're going to take a political calculation,
yes,
you should believe that you're going to be able to sell what is fair. And this is where Jonathan and I disagree, because this is an unfair strategy. Now, means testing, the top 25% of income earners, something like that, that strikes people as fair. This was designed, as Roosevelt said, insurance against need.
Right.
And so something like that, a much fairer deal.
Totally disagree with means testing, and here's why. Universal programs, if you study the history of social democracy in the U.S. and across the continent, the thing that makes them work is universal pay-in and everybody gets out. And the reason that Bill O'Reilly is on his air last night is because the program's universal. The political constituency exists for it because of its universality.
Nobody's talking about taking it all away from the people who've paid in, just having them get a little bit less if they're still working and they have other assets. That is done all throughout Europe. The idea that all of these social programs that we both respect, that they don't have means testing around the world is love.
Dream about.
The idea that they don't have means testing around the world is not accurate.
Well,
they do have means testing around the world.
The interesting thing, though, from a Republican or conservative perspective, is that for the president to say he's coming to the table with entitlement reforms, and his entitlement reform is a middle-class tax hike, what does that say about the president's priorities? That's why conservatives are all scratching their head asking, why is this your entitlement reform when we've got these behemoths of entitlement spending, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security?
Which he's reformed multiple times
over,
but he's gone
both
after Medicare, in the Affordable Care Act and
the Affordable Care Act, and even in his budget.
$400 billion in this proposal. I mean,
and
honestly,
you guys want to privatize. That's not much of an answer.
Honestly, the real issue here is that the only people who actually want to cut Social Security, and I think it's important that Republicans will never say, please, give us Social Security. What they will say is entitlements. Listen to the language, because that just doesn't mean Social Security, which everyone loves, including the majority of Republican voters.
Why should Republicans have to be ones focused on Social Security?
The donor class.
Well, but you're saying that this has to be Republicans' priorities. Why? Republicans have offered just as many plans to reform Medicare as President Obama has.
Sure, yeah.
Paul Ryan didn't even touch Social Security. He left that.
So why are you saying that Republicans have to take it on then? Why is that a demand?
No, I don't think it's a half. I don't look. Let me look. I'm happy to. I'm happy to follow. I am happy to offer the following truths to all parties. Republicans don't have to cut Social Security, and Democrats don't have to cut Social Security. I think a wonderful piece that could break out on Washington and bring everyone together, Senator Merkley, is that we don't cut Social Security.
It sounds like an absolutely good proposal.
NBC's Jonathan Alter, Heather McGhee of Demos, and Maddie Duppler of Americans for Tax Reform. And in Washington, Senator Jeff Merkley. Thank you so much, Senator, for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.